We begin with breaking news tonight. The discovery of human remains in a rural area of South Carolina. The discovery comes amid a new series of developments in the case of Brittanee Drexel, the child teen who disappeared during a trip to Myrtle Beach 13 years ago. Now, the remains were found on this property in Georgetown County in South Carolina. It's about an hour from Myrtle Beach and just over 2 miles from the motel where Raymond Moody, a person of interest in the case, was living at the time of Brittanee Drexel's disappearance. Now, police are not saying for whom they were searching when those remains were found. Moody remains in jail on an obstruction of justice charge. The remains, of course, have yet to be identified. That depends on lab work. Now, when 13 WAM's Ginny Ryan asked today about the search that led to this discovery, an FBI source would neither confirm nor deny if it was connected to the Drexel case. We, of course, will continue to follow these developments.
Away from those school board elections in suburban areas. And with that comes a number you'll want to pay close attention to. Along with school board elections comes school budget votes. And new tonight, we're taking a close look at record spending plans for some school districts just days before you're being asked to vote on them. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, New York State spends more than $25,000 per student each year, more than any other state. A new Empire Center report analyzing budget proposals shows districts plan to spend 4.3% more in the coming year. This comes after New York passed a 2% tax cap on spending. Ithaca City Schools are one of 15 districts that plan to exceed the cap this year. Tonight, our Samantha Croston is asking, are schools spending too much? In tonight's Crisis in the Classroom report. Samantha.
Well, billions in state and federal aid are a big reason why local schools are spending more. In Ithaca, it's important to note that spending doesn't mean raising the tax rate, something the board remains committed to. But tonight, we're asking, at a time when many of us are tightening our budgets, should our schools be doing the same? An Empire Center report released this week looks at the budgets of nearly 700 New York school districts. What it finds is the state that spends the most on students, around 10 grand more than the national average, is asking taxpayers to spend even more.
Meaning per pupil spending keeps going up, and it is already far above the national average and the highest in the country.
A statewide 2% tax cap was first applied to school budgets in 2012. Districts that want to spend more than that require 60% of voters to approve these budgets. For the second time in the past decade, Ithaca City Schools are asking for that 60% approval.
They're proposing to spend close to $27,000 per pupil, which is, again, it's much higher than school districts around the country.
The district's proposing a 7.21% tax levy increase. The budget's plan spends 2.59% more. More than $4 million in federal aid helps offset the difference for now.
The concern is that it's going to go, for instance, for new hires. And who's going to pay? How are you going to pay the salary of those new hires when the temporary funding streams run out?
That's a question Ithaca parents and taxpayers may be asking, since the Ithaca school budget includes new positions and a 4.5% increase in teachers' salaries. But it's not the only question that should be on taxpayers' minds. Another worth asking, are we getting a good return on our money?
What we have seen is when you look at the state as a whole, as spending has increased, assessment scores have actually gone down. So relative to other states, our spending has gotten higher and our test performance has gotten lower.
Now, I'll be linking to the Ithaca City School District budget and that helpful question and answer page in my web report, so parents and taxpayers in the community can look closer at the budget plan. That report will be available on cnycentral.com. Budget votes are Tuesday, May 17th, and you can find your local school district's budget proposal on the school's website.
Those who live in New York's 23rd congressional district are right now without a representative in Washington, and the road to get one looks to be complicated. Former Republican Representative Tom Reed is said to be taking a job in the private sector. Now that he's stepped down from Congress, the people of that district are left without a voice in the House of Representatives. And the resignation also leaves some confusion ahead after a high court tossed the newly redrawn legislative district maps. So what's it going to take to get nearly 700,000 people across central New York a new representative? CBS 5's Mary Keeler is in the studio with new information now.
Yeah, Michael, we have a June 28th primary plus an August 23rd primary here in New York State. And now voters in the 23rd congressional district could head to the polls in between them because of Congressman Tom Reed's resignation, which means the search is on for a new voice for constituents. Republican Congressman Tom Reed announced his resignation effective immediately on Tuesday.
After almost 12 years in Congress, today is my last day. It has been an honor to serve with you all from both parties.
Generating buzz from lawmakers like New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.
I don't know his reasons for resigning, but if he feels it's the right thing to do, then it probably is. And I imagine we'll have a special election at some point.
And that is easier said than done, according to Onondaga County's Democratic Elections Commissioner. He tweeted this after hearing the news, saying in part, quote, "The timing of this will be very problematic," and, quote, "prayers for my colleagues in those counties."
It's too bad that the representative couldn't have consulted with some of the election officials across the state to time this better.
Zarni says the June primary, which includes races for governor and lieutenant governor, as well as the August primary with congressional and Senate races, are already a lot of work. Now a special election would have to go in between. So how does that happen? After Reed's resignation is submitted, the governor has 10 days to call for the special election. That kicks off at least a 60-day window to hold it, which means it can't be added to the June 28th primary.
They're going to be certifying their election while they're running the August election, more likely, because of early voting. And early voting will happen for the special election as well.
Congressman Reed's office says they'll serve the district until a replacement is chosen.
It's not good or ideal for the people. You know, there are constituent services that these representatives do. It's not just showing up for votes in Washington.
And on top of this, there's also redistricting happening. Zarni says we'll find out hopefully next week what those districts will look like. The 23rd district could likely change, but this special election would be for the current outline.